Welcome to the Everyday English Podcast. I am so glad you are here with us today for another deep dive into the world of real-life English. We are talking to all of you who have worked incredibly hard to reach that advanced level, the C1 and C2 learners who have spent years studying grammar books, passing difficult exams, and expanding your vocabulary until it feels like you have a library inside your head. It is a massive achievement, and you should be proud of it. But today, we are going to talk about a very specific problem that happens once you reach the top of that mountain. It is what we call the formal trap, and it is something that can make you feel more like a textbook and less like a human being when you are actually trying to talk to people.
That is such a great way to put it, Sarah. I see this all the time with advanced students. You spend so much time learning how to write academic essays for the IELTS or the TOEFL, and you learn these very sophisticated, heavy words to get a high score. Then you move to an English-speaking country or you start working in an international office, and you bring those essay words with you into the break room or the coffee shop. You might be at a casual barbecue with your neighbors, and you find yourself saying something like, "The weather is quite pleasant, and furthermore, the food is remarkably palatable." Everyone kind of stops eating for a second and looks at you because you sound like you were giving a royal speech or reading from a 19th century novel. It's a strange feeling because you are being grammatically perfect, but you're not connecting with people.
Exactly, Mark. It is like wearing a full tuxedo to a casual backyard barbecue. You look great, you are dressed perfectly, but you are completely out of place. This is a huge pain for our listeners because it makes them feel socially awkward. They feel like they cannot be themselves in English. They feel robotic. They feel like they are constantly performing instead of just communicating. If you have ever felt like your English is too stiff or too formal for daily life, then this episode is exactly what you need. We are going to show you how to take that advanced knowledge and translate it into what we call natural, high-level English. We want you to sound smart, but we also want you to sound like a friend. If you want to build that real fluency and make English a natural part of your daily life, make sure you subscribe to the Everyday English Podcast and hit that notification bell so you never miss our daily listening practice. We are here every day to help you bridge that gap between the classroom and the real world.
Let's start with the first big problem area, which is transitions. When we learn to write at a C1 level, we are taught to use what I call textbook transitions. These are words like moreover, furthermore, and in addition. These are fantastic for a 5-paragraph essay about the impact of technology on global trade. They help the reader follow your logic. But in a conversation, they are like heavy anchors that slow everything down. Imagine you are talking to a colleague about a new project. Sarah, how would that sound if I used those academic transitions?
It would sound something like this. Mark, I think we should choose the second proposal. Moreover, it is more cost-effective. Furthermore, the timeline is much shorter. In addition, the client specifically requested a faster turnaround. It sounds very official, Mark, but it feels cold. It feels like I'm reading a report to you rather than collaborating with you.
You are so right. It feels like there's a wall between us. In a real everyday conversation, even in a professional one, a native speaker who is fluent and advanced will almost never say moreover. Instead, we use much simpler, lighter words that keep the conversation moving. The most common one is simply plus. It's such a small word, but it does so much work. Instead of saying moreover, just say plus. Another great one is on top of that. This adds a little bit of energy to what you're saying. And of course, there's also. Let's try that same conversation again, but this time using these natural transitions. Sarah, give me that proposal feedback again.
Okay, let's try the natural version. Mark, I really think we should go with the second proposal. Plus, it's much cheaper for us. On top of that, the timeline is shorter, which is exactly what the client wanted. Also, it's just a better fit for our team. Do you hear the difference? It's still high-level English, I'm still making strong points, but the flow is much more rhythmic. It feels like a conversation.
It feels much more inviting. When you say on top of that, it sounds like you are building a case with me, not just lecturing me. Another one people often get stuck on is subsequently. It's a beautiful word, but in a kitchen or at a dinner party, it sounds very strange. Instead of saying, we went to the museum and subsequently had lunch, just say, and then we grabbed some lunch. Or, after that, we went for a walk. Keeping your transitions simple allows your main ideas to shine. This is your first task for today. Next time you're about to say furthermore, catch yourself. Stop. Replace it with plus or on top of that. You will immediately feel the conversation become more relaxed.
That is a great tip, Mark. Now, let's move on to the second trap, which is what we call the vocabulary register. This is where high-level learners often choose the most complex word available because they think it makes them sound more fluent. We often see this with verbs. A classic example is the word utilize. Learners love the word utilize. They use it instead of the word use because it feels more advanced. But here is the secret. Native speakers, even very educated ones, use the word use about 99% of the time.
I am so guilty of seeing this in emails. People write, "We need to utilize all our resources to obtain the desired result." It sounds so heavy. If you say that to a friend, they might think you are a robot in disguise. To obtain is another one. It is a perfectly good C2 word, but in everyday life, we just say get. We get a coffee, we get a promotion, we get a new car. If you say, "I obtained a coffee this morning," it sounds like you went on a secret mission to a distant land to find a rare bean. It is just too much.
It really is. The key here is understanding that fluency is not about using the hardest word. It's about using the right word for the situation. When you use utilize instead of use in a casual setting, you are actually showing a lack of fluency because you don't understand the register of the conversation. Register is just a fancy way of saying the level of formality. Think of your English like a volume knob on a radio. If you are in a job interview, maybe you turn the formality up to a 7 or an 8. But if you are talking to a neighbor, you want it at a 3 or a 4. If you keep it at a 10 all the time, you are going to exhaust yourself and the people around you.
So how do we fix this? We need to look at our heavy verbs and find their everyday counterparts. Instead of commence, use start or get started. Instead of terminate, use end or finish. Instead of consult, use talk to or check with. Let's look at an example. Sarah, say a sentence using the most formal verbs you can think of for a simple daily task.
Okay, let's see. I need to consult with my spouse to determine if we can commence our vacation next week.
Wow, that sounds like a legal contract. Now let's hear the everyday English version.
I need to check with my husband to see if we can start our trip next week.
It's the exact same information. It's still perfect English, but the second version actually makes people want to talk to you. It opens a door. The first version closes it. Here's a simple habit you can try. Look at your most used verbs this week. If you see yourself using words like inform instead of tell, or request instead of ask, try to swap them out. Practice choosing the simpler verb for one whole day. You'll find that you have more mental energy because you aren't searching for the biggest word in the dictionary.
That is such a good point about mental energy, Mark. It takes a lot of brain power to maintain that high level of formality. Now, let's talk about the third trap, which is a big one for advanced learners, the passive voice. In academic writing, the passive voice is king. It makes things sound objective and professional. You learn to say things like, the data was analyzed, or the mistake was discovered, or a decision was reached. It removes the person from the sentence. But in real life, conversation is all about people. It's about you and me.
This is where a lot of learners lose their personality. When you use the passive voice too much, you sound like you are trying to hide or like you are afraid to take responsibility. If you are at work and you say, a mistake was made with the filing, it sounds very cold and robotic. But if you say, I made a mistake with the filing, or we messed up the filing, it sounds human. It builds a connection with your coworkers. Native speakers use the active voice because it has more energy. It moves the story forward.
It really does. Think about telling a story to a friend. You wouldn't say, the mountain was climbed by us and the view was seen. That sounds ridiculous. You would say, we climbed the mountain and saw the view. Even in professional settings, the active voice is becoming the preferred way to communicate because it is clearer. Instead of saying, your email will be answered by our team shortly, it's much better to say, our team will answer your email shortly. It feels more direct and more helpful.
I think a lot of learners use the passive voice as a safety net. They feel like if they don't use I or we, they can't make a grammar mistake. But the truth is, the passive voice is actually harder to use correctly, and it makes your speech sound very flat. If you want to sound like a high-level, confident speaker, you need to own your sentences. Use active verbs. Tell us who did what. Instead of saying, the cake was eaten, say, I ate the cake. It's much more engaging.
Exactly. So your challenge for this section is to listen to yourself when you are explaining something. Are you using the passive voice to sound more official? If you catch yourself saying, a plan has been made, try to change it to, I've made a plan. This one small change will give your English so much more life and personality.
Now, we've talked a lot about using simpler words and avoiding the formal tropes, but I can hear our listeners thinking, but Mark, Sarah, I worked so hard to learn these advanced words. Do I have to throw them away? Do I have to stop sounding smart?
That is such a valid concern, and the answer is absolutely not. We want you to use your advanced vocabulary. We want you to show off your hard work, but we want you to do it in a way that feels natural. This brings us to our fourth point, which is one of my favorite techniques, the advanced sandwich. This is how you use a C1 or C2 word without sounding like a dictionary.
I love the name of this technique. The advanced sandwich is all about context. If you just drop a massive, complex word into a sentence without any preparation, it can be jarring for the listener. But if you sandwich that word between two simple, clear sentences, it becomes a powerful tool. You are using the simple sentences to provide a soft landing for the big word.
Let's look at an example. Let's take the word idiosyncratic. It is a great C2 word that describes something unique or peculiar to an individual. If you just walk up to someone and say, his behavior is idiosyncratic, it might feel a bit stiff. But if you use the sandwich, it sounds like this. He has some funny habits. His behavior is quite idiosyncratic. He always wears 2 different colored socks. Do you see what happened there? I used simple, clear language to set the scene. I used the advanced word to be precise, and then I used another simple sentence to explain it.
That is a perfect example. It shows that you know the word, but you aren't using it to be pretentious. You are using it because it is the most accurate word for the situation. Let's try another one with the word obsolete. Instead of just saying, this technology is obsolete, you could say, I think it's time for an upgrade. This software is becoming obsolete. It just doesn't work with the new systems anymore. By surrounding the big word with everyday language, you make it accessible. You are helping the listener understand exactly why you chose that specific word.
This is the real sign of a C2 speaker. A truly advanced speaker doesn't use big words to confuse people. They use them to be more clear. The sandwich technique allows you to be precise while staying friendly. It shows that you have total control over the language. You can move from simple to complex and back to simple without any effort. It's like a dancer who can do a very difficult move but makes it look easy.
That is a beautiful image, Sarah. So your task for this technique is to pick one advanced word you learned this week. Don't just try to force it into a sentence. Try to build a sandwich around it. Give it some context with simple sentences. This will help you memorize the word better, and it will help you use it naturally when the time comes.
We have covered so much today. We've looked at the transition trap, the vocabulary register, the passive voice, and the advanced sandwich. It might feel like a lot to remember, but the core message is very simple. Don't let your studies get in the way of your communication. Your English is a tool to connect with other human beings. If that tool is too heavy or too sharp, it is hard to use. We want you to have a tool that is perfectly balanced.
I think it's important to remember that even native speakers are constantly learning how to communicate better. We are all trying to find that balance between being clear and being professional, between being friendly and being smart. As an advanced learner, you have a unique advantage. You have the ability to see the language from the outside. You can choose exactly how you want to sound. Don't feel like you have to follow the rules of a textbook forever. You have passed the tests. Now it is time to live your life in English.
That is so true, Mark. Fluency is a journey, not a destination. And part of that journey is learning how to be yourself in a second language. It takes time to find your voice. It takes time to feel comfortable using plus instead of moreover. But every time you make that choice, you are becoming a more natural speaker. You are moving away from the classroom and into the real world.
Before we wrap up, let's do a quick recap of the daily habits we suggested. First, swap out those essay transitions for words like plus and on top of that. Second, look at your verbs and see if you can use simpler, more active ones like get, start, and tell. Third, try to use the active voice more often to give your speech more personality. And finally, use the sandwich technique to show off your advanced vocabulary in a natural way.
These are small changes, but they have a massive impact. If you do these things, people will start to notice. They will find it easier to talk to you. They will feel more connected to you. And most importantly, you will feel more like yourself. You won't feel like you are wearing that heavy tuxedo at the barbecue anymore. You will feel comfortable, confident, and truly advanced.
We are so proud of the progress you are making. Learning a language to this level is a marathon, and you are doing an amazing job. We hope this episode has given you some practical tools to take your English to the next level of natural fluency. If you found this helpful, please give us a like and share this episode with a friend who might be stuck in the formal trap too. It really helps us reach more learners like you.
And don't forget to subscribe to the Everyday English podcast. We have new episodes every day that cover everything from work and money to relationships and travel, all in slow, clear English. We are here to support you every step of the way as you build your life in English. Your English doesn't have to be a source of stress. It can be a source of joy and connection.
We have a final challenge for you before we go. We call it the 60-second audit. Today, I want you to open the voice memo app on your phone and record yourself talking for just 1 minute. Talk about your job, your day, or a hobby. Then listen back to it. Be honest with yourself. Do you hear any of those formal traps? Did you say furthermore? Did you use the passive voice when you could have used I or we? Don't be self-critical. Just be curious.
This is such a powerful exercise. When you hear yourself, you start to notice patterns that you don't catch while you are speaking. After you listen, try recording the same minute again, but this time apply one of the fixes we talked about today. Use the sandwich technique, or swap a formal verb for a simple one. You will be amazed at how much better the second version sounds. It is the fastest way to train your brain to choose natural English.
It really works. I've seen students transform their speaking style in just a few weeks using this audit method. It's all about building that self-awareness. Once you can hear the formal trap, you can avoid it. You are in control of your English, not the other way around.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us today. It is always a pleasure to share these tips with you and to be a part of your daily routine. Remember, English is a bridge to the world, and you are already halfway across it. Keep practicing, keep being curious, and keep being yourself.
You have all the tools you need to be a fantastic communicator. Now go out there and use them. Try one of these techniques today, even if it is just in a short text message or a quick chat with a coworker. Every little bit counts. We believe in you, and we can't wait to see how much your fluency grows.
Have a wonderful day of living and learning in English. We will be back tomorrow with another episode to help you stay on track. Until then, keep it natural, keep it clear, and keep going. You are doing great.
Goodbye for now, and happy practicing. Let's make today the day you step out of the textbook and into real life. We will see you in the next episode.
See you tomorrow. Keep up the amazing work, everyone. Your journey to real fluency is happening one conversation at a time. Be patient with yourself and enjoy the process. You are becoming the speaker you've always wanted to be. We are so happy to be on this journey with you. Bye.